game is not won by one individual, unless it's Lamar Jackson, who can probably win a game by himself.
Matter of who's going to get that home field advantage. The Bills got last year, and they won. If the Ravens get home field advantage, you never know.
These are two teams that are expected to be deep playoff contenders.
That division isn't that great. You know, the Jets, the Patriots, you know it, the Dolphins.
Yes, I do. Football season is finally here. Hello and welcome back to Ain't That Our Ball. The NFL season kicks off tonight, and there are plenty of high-octane matchups to watch this weekend. Today, we're going to focus on some of the most interesting games Week 1 has to offer. The Buffalo Bills and Baltimore Ravens face off in what could be an AFC Championship preview. Aaron Rodgers makes his return to MetLife Stadium as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Micah Parsons makes his debut as the divisional matchup between the Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions. I'm David Scott. Beside me is football expert Ryan Sanudo. Ryan, how are you feeling about Week 1?
Glad to be here. It's been a long time coming. I mean, I'm really excited for this.
We've been waiting months, right? You get a little preview, some action with college football last week. We're into the thick of it now, and we've got some awesome stuff going on. Starting with the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. You know, I think this is a sign of what's to come. These are two teams that are expected to be deep playoff contenders. They're starting off against each other early. Who's, kind of got the edge here?
Well, first of all, the NFL knew what they were doing, having this matchup. You know, these two teams played each other last year. Bills came away with a close win. And what you got to look out for is obviously Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, two guys that have won MVPs. Josh Allen won the MVP last year. And what you got to look out for is the run game, and the Ravens just have that, with Derrick Henry. Like the first regular season game last year, he had 200-something yards. Like you can see just what these two teams can do. And I got to give the edge to the Ravens on that aspect. Like you can see Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry just go to town with the Bills in that defense. So I feel like, that's a matchup that I see the Ravens, having the edge. Yes, Josh Allen can run. Yes, James Cook can run too. But Jackson, he's just obviously quicker. He's more agile. Derrick Henry is just that power guy, and he can run for it. I think the first run against the Bills last year went for a touchdown. So that aspect, I really give the edge to the Ravens.
Let's hone in a bit more on the quarterback of the Ravens. I think it's hard to not say he's the best player in the NFL. The NFL ranked him up in the top 10, not number one. I think Saquon Barkley was ranked number one this year. But talk about a game changer, a guy who is going to take over a game at any time, use his skills as the guy. A game is not won by one individual, unless it's Lamar Jackson, who can probably win a game by himself. What is he going to do in this game to just completely dominate the Bills?
But, he's smart with the football. He could have easily won MVP. Like, obviously, Josh Allen won, but his stats were better than Allen's. So he's got that, magic touch. You can't miss. You have to, just say to yourself, you got to watch the football with him. If he's, doing the read option with Derrick Henry, if you're just a half a second too late, it's over. Like, you have to really be on your toes with Lamar. And it's just an aspect that teams are just frustrated with. And there's a reason why the Ravens consistently win every year. So I give the edge, with Lamar Jackson and company. And, they don't even need, the weapons. Yes, Zay Flowers is decent. But it really comes down to Lamar Jackson elevating, the talent around him. He's got the two tight ends, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. Likely might not play Week 1, but Mark Andrews, he wants to, rebound from that brutal playoff game,
sure.
The fumble, the drop. So it was just the self-inflicted mistakes in that playoff game that really hurt them last year. And if they clean those things up, Lamar and company will get this win.
Now, do you think we could see these two teams playing in the AFC Championship game down the road?
Oh, I could totally see it. The talent level is there for both teams. The head coach, John Harbaugh, Sean McDermott, they just find ways to beat their opponents in the division. The Bills, that division isn't that great. The Jets, the Patriots, it, the Dolphins.
Yes, I do.
So the Bills will get to the playoffs. And that AFC North is tough, too. That's a tough division. But they just always find a way to win. The Browns are terrible. The Steelers, I feel like they're kind of on the mediocre side. And, yeah, the Bengals, they should get a little bit better. But the Ravens, you got to give the edge just in terms of talent and coaching. I think you can see them make it. It's just a matter of who's going to get that home field advantage. The Bills got last year, and they won. If the Ravens get home field advantage, you never know.
To give a little hint about it before, you got a score prediction for this matchup, for the Week 1 high-powered, high-offense matchup.
I'll give it 31-28 Ravens.
To move on to our next matchup, I think we might see the exact opposite. It's a very exciting matchup for the storylines that it brings. We're seeing Aaron Rodgers return to MetLife Stadium as a member of an opposing team this time. You know, he's the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. He's coming to play his old team. I don't see much offense in this matchup,
No.
but I think you're going to see an exciting game just based on, you know, the personalities. Aaron Rodgers, his old team. What are we going to see on the field?
I think you're seeing a lot of 3-and-outs here and there. You know, I mean, Rodgers is in a new offense. You know, Justin Fields is in a new offense, and both teams know the opposing quarterback. You know, Justin Fields was a Steeler. He's facing his former team now, and Rodgers obviously was a former Jet. You know, he's facing his former team as well. So I think you're going to be seeing both coaches know, you know, the tendencies of both quarterbacks. And, you know, I like you said, I think it's going to be a low total. I think it's the lowest total of the whole week. So I expect some 3-and-outs. I think the turnovers are going to be huge. If one guy can, you know, not throw turnovers and the other guy will, then that team is probably going to lose. For the Jets, I think the biggest part, Aaron Glenn and that defense, they're going to be blitzing. And that Steelers team is a little iffy on the offensive line. And Aaron Rodgers, as a 41-year-old, he's a stationary quarterback. So all it takes is just 1 or 2 seconds and boom, he's down. So I think Aaron Glenn and company, they will, you know, apply pressure on Aaron Rodgers. I think that's what the key is for the Jets. They're going to run down your throat, and they're also going to try to get to Aaron Rodgers. So I expect a low total. I expect the Steelers to win at the end of the day, but I expect, you know, on the low scoring, you know, like not like, you know, what were we talking about with the Bills and Ravens.
Yeah, you know, in this game, I think we're seeing kind of old guard versus new guard. Like the Steelers have a lot of returning players. They have a coach who's been there forever. They have an old quarterback, and then the Jets, you got, you know, a new office coming in, a new head coach, a lot of new executives, a lot of new players. Offense is pretty fresh. The defense still has a lot of their hitters from the last few years, but I think you're seeing just a total difference in mentality from the two sides. Now, how is that going to translate on the field? We don't know. Obviously, the Steelers, like you said, I think have a bit of the edge, but at the same time, I think the teams are so kind of evenly matched despite different philosophies that it could go either way. But as you said, probably low scoring.
The Jets, they want to control the clock. You know, I think they're going to take that for their advantage. They're going to run the football. I mean, they got Breece Hall, they got Braylon Allen. So I think they're going to try to run the football. Obviously, you have Justin Fields who can run the football. So they're going to just like try to control the clock. The clock is their friend. The Steelers might be playing and they're like, what? This is like 7 or 8 minutes, this drive already?
Are either of these teams going to be a playoff team?
Well, that's a big question. Now, obviously, there's a bigger chance, you know, for the Steelers than the Jets, but I don't know. It's a very tough division in the AFC North. We were mentioning earlier about the Ravens and the Bengals, but I think it's going to be very tough for the Steelers. Like, I think you got to win 10 games to get to the playoffs, and I don't know if the Steelers can do it.
Okay, so moving on to our next game, you know, we've got one of the biggest storylines recently in the NFL with the Green Bay Packers. They swung in, made that big Micah Parsons trade. Now they're taking on the division champs from last year, the Detroit Lions. This is kind of what we're going to see all season long. These two teams going back and forth, fighting for the division. What do you think is going to go on here? Do you think Micah Parsons is going to have a big impact? Do you think the Packers, you know, even stand a chance against the Lions throughout the year and in this game? What are we going to see?
Well, first of all, the vibes are really high with Green Bay. Obviously, getting Micah Parsons, that was very stunning. I did not see that happening. But in terms of Parsons, with that back injury, I mean, he will play. It's just a matter of how many snaps. I think it's going to be a little bit more than 50%, but I'm not, you know, pushing, you know, close to the 100% range. I think it's going to be maybe 75%. You know, it's a long season, 17 games. So you lose week 1, you know, it's okay. You got 16 more games. But the Packers, I give the edge. Just they have, you know, top to bottom, you know, roster that I think is better than the Lions. I mean, not by a lot, but they have mostly everyone, you know, back, you know, and then obviously you had Parsons, and now they have Matthew Golden at wide receiver, Josh Jacobs, the second year with them. He killed it last year. So they got so many options. Tucker Kraft at tight end, Jaden Reed. So there's so many options with Green Bay. And Matt LaFleur, I can never doubt him in terms of the regular season. He always finds a way. So the vibes are really great with Green Bay. Jordan Love, obviously, you know, coming off like a good season. I mean, he was better like the previous year, but I expect a better season out of him moving forward.
Yeah, on the other side of the ball, you know, the Lions have a pretty good amount of turnover, and it's not just in like the players, it's mostly in the coaches. They lost their offensive coordinator, they lost their defensive coordinator. The only thing that's left is Dan Campbell there. So they've got a pretty new staff. Are we going to see a huge philosophical change in the offense and defense? We don't know that yet. We'll see. But that can make a huge impact for the players. coming into a completely new system in 2025. Is that going to really hurt them this year?
So for the offense, I trust the offense. Like, you still got so many weapons. I'm sure they know like what's worked in the past, with their players. Like, obviously you got Gibbs, you got Laporta, St. Brown, just so many options on that offense, and they know what Jared Goff can do. Just sit back, relax, and they still got a good offensive line. But the defense is still, it worries me. I mean, I don't think it's going to be bad defense, but you lose Carlton Davis. Yes, you get DJ Reed, but I don't know. It's going to probably be a work in progress out of that defense because, in that division, it's not going to be easy against the Vikings, even the Bears. The Bears are a sneaky team, and obviously the Packers. So the defense won't be as good, than last year, but the offense I still trust. But even the offensive line, I did say it's good, but they did lose Ragnow, retired. But I trust the offensive line. The defense is what bothers me a little bit.
So you think that there's going to be a new NFC North champion this year?
Good question. I believe so. Now, yes, I still have the Lions making the playoffs, but I give the Packers, a little bit more of an edge than the Lions, just because top to bottom, I really like that roster.
You think it's possible that one of the teams in this matchup represents the NFC in the Super Bowl?
I really think the Packers are a Super Bowl contender after this Parsons deal. I probably wouldn't be saying this before this Parsons deal, but he's such an impact player. He's 26 years old. It's going to be very tough to go against that Packers team. And if everyone stays healthy, that's the thing. Everyone has to stay healthy. I feel like there's always something with the Packers, injury-wise with them. That's what I think can kill them most is the injuries. But if that's all good, during the year, then I think I give the edge to the Packers.
That's where we're going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for watching Ain't That Our Ball. We're on every week. You can catch our tactics show, X's and O's, every Monday. I'm David Scott. This has been Ryan Sanudo. And please comment, like, subscribe.